So now students, we will understand what did Stafford Cripps have to offer us, why we rejected it, and this went to have the Quit India movement. This was the reason why we had the Quit India movement. So the Stafford Cripps Commission sent by the British government, they proposed some suggestions in front of Indians. They were like, okay, we will take dominion status more seriously. You all will get complete dominion status. He called a meeting to draft the constitution. The same thing, they had called Motilal Nehru to draft the constitution, they called them again, draft the constitution. It was proposed that all states will have the liberty. The states will be able to decide whether they want to be a part of this federation, whether they want to leave their federation. Complete choice will be given to the states. These proposals were opposed by the Congress. They said, dominion status you are giving after so many years. We have been asking for Purna Swaraj. And this was a very clever plan, students. They wanted to divide India. Imagine giving states the option. Okay, if you want to be a part of the federation, you be. If you want to leave, you go become an independent country on your own. They knew that this will lead to fights amongst the Indians. It will lead to division. Now they are united in the national movement, but because of this, they will start fighting. So this was a clever plan to break the unity. So this was opposed by Congress, and they called out for a movement called the Quit India. The Quit India movement declared, British, you quit India. Why did they want the British to quit India? Because they were not happy with the proposal. Second, Indians did not want to participate in the war. They said, it's your personal problem what you are facing, England with any other country. Why should we have to participate? We don't have to fight because you want to go to fight. So they declared, British, you quit India. Gandhiji gave a call to his fellow Indians. He gave out the slogan, do or die. As a result, leaders like Gandhiji, Nehru, Rajendra Prasad, Abdul Kalam Azad, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, Acharya Kripalani and Kasturba were arrested. As soon as he gave this call, even before the movement started, they were all arrested and put into jail. Non-Congress organizations happened to lead this movement because all Congress leaders were put into jail. This movement created a lot more new leaders. Why? Because the existing leaders were in jail. So a lot of new leaders came forth. Jai Prakash Narayan provided leadership to this movement. He was the leader of the socialist wing of Congress. He, along with his supporters, engaged in revolutionary works. The socialists brought out a document. What was the title of this document? The Freedom Struggle Front, and outlined their strategies. Now they went to factory workers. They would tell factory workers, come participate in the freedom movement. They called for support to the common people, saying, come participate in the freedom movement. They collected money. The people provided hope to India in such times. They would provide food for these freedom fighters. They would provide them with necessary shelter and so on. Meanwhile, efforts were made outside the border of India too. The efforts of Subhash Chandra Bose are really commendable. We will be learning about Subhash Chandra Bose and his efforts in the later part of the chapter. After the elections of 1937, the Muslim League was kept out of the government participation. When the Congress walked out of the government in 1939, opposing, so now the Congress has left the government. Why did the Congress leave the government? Because the Viceroy had made a unilateral decision saying, we are going to go to war. So we had walked out of the government. Muslims celebrated this walkout as Vimukti Divas. Vimukti means, oh, finally we are relieved. We got freedom from you. The Muslim League did not even participate in the Quit India movement. Why? Because they wanted separation or division of India into two different countries. Students, Muhammad Ali Jinnah, he joined the Indian National Congress in 1906 and he worked as the private secretary. He was like the assistant to Dadabhai Nauroji. His popularity grew more because he argued in favor of Tilak in the litigations against him. So there were so many Sedition. You remember, students, in the previous chapter we learned, since Tilak had written a lot of writings that opposed the British rule, he was put into jail and he was given the blame of sedition. But who fought his case? Muhammad Ali Jinnah. This made him very popular. He then joined the Home Rule League. In many of the conferences, he argued, in the starting days, he was for the unity of Hindus and Muslims. He resigned from his membership of the Central Advisory Committee opposing the implementation of the Rowlatt Act. So he was a part of a committee of the government, but since the government decided to implement the Rowlatt Act, he even resigned from that committee. He declared himself as a nationalist Muslim in the Round Table Conference. But he changed his strategy. What happened? What went wrong that he changed? When Muslim League and Congress failed to form a coalition government. So when they won the elections, the Congress and the Muslim League participated as separate parties. And when they won the election, Jinnah proposed that they can form a government by merging or by coalition of both the parties. When the Freedom Declaration was nearer, he increased the pressure for an independent Pakistan, and he was successful in creating Pakistan during the Declaration of Independence. Now, students, we come to one of the most painful results of Indian freedom, the partition or the breaking down of India into two separate countries of India and Pakistan. All along the national freedom struggle, the Indian National Congress had the vision of free, independent and united India. But as you all notice, students, Muhammad Ali Jinnah, he kept putting pressure for an independent Pakistan. In the Lahore session of the Muslim League in 1940, he declared that Hindus and Muslims cannot become one nation. The Labour Party, you all remember, right? We learnt about the Labour Party previously, came to power after the Second World War. It tried to find various solutions for the political problems of India. They even sent a committee called the Cabinet Committee to sit with everyone, to discuss. Everyone was very tired, students, after the Second World War. They have seen a lot of loss, a lot of death. There's no money left. Why? Why would they want to fight? They wanted a way to just talk and solve the problems and discuss and reach a solution. So they sent a cabinet committee. What did they want to discuss? To give India self-rule. This committee had a discussion with Muslim League and Indian National Congress, and they recommended that they form a federal government and suggested to form an interim or a temporary government. They suggested the formation of Constituent Assembly. They said, you all make an assembly called the Constituent Assembly and write a constitution which we will approve. But the differences over the coalition interim government between the Indian National Congress and the Muslim League were so high that they could not come together. The Muslim League said, we want to announce a direct action day on August 16th, 1946. A lot of communal clashes took place, like Hindus were against Muslims, there were so many riots, they were fighting, killing each other just on religious grounds. Muslim League did not participate anymore in the Constituent Assembly. The British were also very interested in creating division between Hindus and Muslims. It can be noticed that the British always wanted to protect their own self-interest, and this we see from the time when they tried to divide Bengal. We learnt about the partition of Bengal, and we know how British has been selfless, and they kept sowing the seeds of the ideas of partition from a very long time. The relation between the Muslim League and the Congress just deteriorated further. The British government sent Lord Mountbatten as Viceroy to India, telling that it wanted to hasten or fasten the process of handing over the power. They were tired. They were like, just go give them the power and come back. We don't want to rule India anymore. Why? because they saw that they had to get so much of revenue from India. But now everything is over. Now it's their time to start giving, to develop India. But they were like, no, now let's go. Let's just give them freedom and go. In 1946, Lord Mountbatten held discussions with Gandhiji, Jinnah and other leaders, and they prepared the plan for partition of India. In July of 1947, the Bill of Indian Independence took place and it became an act, or it became a law. They passed the bill and it became an act or a law. On August 15, 1947, two nations, new nations, India and Pakistan, were born. Radcliffe-Brown Commission was the commission headed by Sir Radcliffe Brown. He marked the boundaries between both the countries of India and Pakistan. Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru took oath as the first Prime Minister of India. On January 30, 1948, Mahatma Gandhi ji was shot dead when he was going for a prayer by Nathuram Godse. Our very own Gandhi ji, who's called the harbinger or the bringer of peace between Hindus and Muslims, he was shot dead. He was assassinated by Nathuram Godse. Though Gandhiji was killed physically, the ideas, his ideals that he propagated of equality, social justice, human reflections and desire for human unity, they have remained with us and it will remain with the entire humankind. So this brings us to the end of the chapter, students. Now let's look at the backside question and answers. Let's do the fill in the blanks. Gandhiji was born in 1869. Jallianwala Bagh massacre took place while protesting against which act? The Rowlatt Act. The movement led by Ali brothers was Khilafat movement. A separate nation for Muslims was put forward by Muhammad Ali Jinnah. The president of Indian National Congress session of 1929. Students, 1929 session is very important because we demanded for Purna Swaraj. It was Jawaharlal Nehru. Mahad and Kalaram movement was formed by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. The leadership of Indian National Army's Jhansi regiment was held by Captain Lakshmi Sehgal, a question asked almost every year. Gandhiji held salt Satyagraha in Dandi, the coastal area of Gujarat. Quit India movement took place in the year 1942. Now students, choose the appropriate words and answer. The first roundtable conference was held in the year 1930. Swaraj Party was founded in the year 1923. The president of Haripura session of Indian National Congress was Subhash Chandra Bose. Dash is known as the Iron Man of India. Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. Answer the following. What were the internal tools of Gandhi's struggle? Satyagraha. We'll also discuss what is Satyagraha. It's one of the major methods of protest of Gandhiji. The word Satyagraha means the assertion of the truth. It was one of the major weapons he employed in South Africa. It is his moral weapon. What is it based on? It's based on non-violence. It means asserting the rightful place of truth by employing peaceful means. The use of this weapon is one of the major social exploration that has ever taken place in history of mankind. The second one was ahimsa. Ahimsa means non-violence. Ahimsa is the basic trait of Gandhiji's struggle. He believed that one should face violence with ahimsa. Next, unity of Hindus and Muslims. He was the champion for the cause of unity of Hindus and Muslims. He believed if India is a country, Hindus and Muslims are like a single eye of India. List out the programs of non-cooperation movement, very important students for examination. Boycotting schools, colleges and courts. Boycotting elections to regional legislative bodies held according to the 1919 Act. Returning of all honors and medals given by the government. Nominated members to local bodies resigning from their membership. Boycotting all of the government functions. Boycotting all foreign goods. Question 4. Explain the Chauri Chaura incident. On February 5th, 1922, a big group of around 3,000 farmers assembled in front of the police station in Chauri Chaura. They had assembled there to protest against the police officer who had beaten a Congress worker when they were protesting in front of an arak shop. The police started shooting from inside the station. Enraged by this act, the people torched the police station. As a result, all the 22 policemen were burnt or charred to death. Such violent incidents were repeated in other parts of the country too. Gandhiji realized that Indians need more preparation and morality for a non-violent movement. So this was the Chauri Chaura incident. Discuss Salt Satyagraha. It was a mass civil disobedience movement initiated by Mahatma Gandhiji against the salt tax imposed by the British government in India. He led a large group of people from Sabarmati Ashram on 12th March 1930 till Dandi, a coastal village in Gujarat, to break the salt law by producing salt from the seawater. What were the reasons for Quit India movement? The Stafford Cripps Commission, which was sent by the British government, it proposed certain suggestions in front of Indians like dominion status to India, calling a meeting to draft a new constitution. It proposed that all states will have the liberty to be a part of the new federation or not. These proposals were opposed by the Congress, and so they called for the Quit India movement. What did they declare? They declared, British, you quit India. Write the names of important radicals who took part in the Indian national movement. The radicals who took part in the Indian national movement are Bipin Chandra Pal, Lala Lajpat Rai, Bal Gangadhar Tilak and many others. What were the outcomes of the second round table conference? Students, why the second round table conference do you think is the most important out of all the three? Because it's the only round table conference where Gandhiji and the Indian National Congress participated. In the second round table conference, Ambedkar pressed for a separate electoral constituency for untouchables. This was opposed by Gandhiji. So there was an ideological difference between Gandhiji and Dr. Ambedkar. So there was no outcome, no conclusion to the second roundtable conference. Explain the achievements of Subhash Chandra Bose in independent movement. Subhash Chandra Bose had secured 4th rank in the Indian Civil Services exam. He refused posting and became a part of the national freedom struggle. He toured many cities. He toured means he went on a trip to many cities like Vienna, Berlin, Rome, Istanbul and other cities and rallied or told the Indians, come on, get involved in the Indian national movement. The birth and rise of communism and socialism did influence the many in the Congress, and in 1934, Subhash Chandra Bose and Jawaharlal Nehru founded the Congress Socialist Party within the Indian National Congress. He became the president of Haripur Convention of Indian National Congress with the support of Gandhiji. Students, I am reading all the points. You don't need to learn all the 13 points. You can learn any 4 or 5 points. The party aimed at staying within the fold of Indian National Congress and it had very progressive ideals. Subhash Chandra Bose opposed British war participation and also the participation of British India in the war. So the British government arrested Subhash Chandra Bose and put him under house arrest, but he managed to escape and went to Germany. And the dictator of Germany agreed to help Bose. Bose organized the prisoners of war from India and he broadcasted his speeches over Azad Hind radio. Rash Bihari Bose had founded Indian Independence League in Tokyo in Japan. He was calling its military wing as the Indian National Army. Bose called for a movement. Now he had gone to so many cities of the world, so he called for the movement called the Delhi Chalo movement. He said, give me your blood and I'll get you Indian independence. Next question, explain the various tribal revolts in the history of Indian independence struggle. The Tax and the Forest Act implemented by the British East India Company provoked for the tribals to revolt. The Santala tribal revolt is termed as the Indian First Movement. These tribes lived in Bengal and Orissa hillocks. The permanent zamindari system made this community destitute, means they didn't have access to basic resources like food and shelter. Their land went off to the landlord. The landlord, moneylenders and the British government behaved in a way that triggered a lot of intolerance amongst the Santala tribes. Explain the major achievements of Nehru as the Prime Minister of India. Nehru can be seen as the architect of industrialization and modern India. He became instrumental in the integration of India, which was achieved by his Home Minister then, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, or the Iron Man of India. He also laid the foundation for diverse culture of India by implementing language-based reorganization of states policy. He advocated for non-alignment movement. He was instrumental in staying away from power politics by adhering to the Panchashil principles, and he laid the foundation for the leadership of Homi Jahangir Baba. This brings us to the end of the chapter, Era of Gandhiji and the Freedom Movement. Students, I hope you all will write a lot and practice and become perfect. Thank you. Study and work hard. All the best.